I want to welcome you to Something to Talk About, which we do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here at the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. And we are grateful for our sponsor, Fieldstone Memory Care. They're up on Rolling Bay and they offer innovative and compassionate care. They have a phone number here, which you can call to find out both about their beautifully appointed apartments, and they're now offering day stay and respite programs. Did you know that? No.
Oh,
360-689-4314. 360-689-4314. And today we have guests in person. Look, the governor has changed the rules. So here we are.
Yes.
Mickey Molnaire and TJ Faddis. And they're coming here to talk a little bit about all that's going on at the Bainbridge Island Chamber of Commerce. And I know that the biggest thing that's on everybody's mind, it may not be the most important thing from your office point of view, but is that we're going to have a parade and a 4th of July again.
yes. Yeah.
And everybody is excited.
Yes, we are.
I know that here at the senior center, we're already thinking about what we're going to do for the parade, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we're just knock on wood that nothing else happens, but we're planning it like it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Street fair and the car show and the parade, it's in the works, so.
well, it does have the advantage of being outdoors.
Yes, the whole event is outdoors. And it's in the summertime. It's just lovely. So weather permitting, we'll have a wonderful time and everybody's ready for it. For sure.
Is that, you've been talking to people who wish we could have done it last
Oh,
year.
yeah. Yeah, everybody's.
Even you were ready for it. Well, maybe. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And we're a little bit late though, because we really started working on it in the middle of last month.
Mm-hmm. And what would normally have happened?
We would start in January. We would start with our street fair vendors from previous years and let them know, hey, we're doing it again, do you want your space? And that would include all the nonprofits that come and set up
Right.
information booths,
As we do.
as you do. So,
So are we gonna,
so that's.
that's going on right now or
Yes, it's going
pretty
on
soon?
right now. Like today is the day I'm going to contact I've already talked to the people that signed up in 2020. We thought we were going to do it before COVID.
Right.
And so we had about, I think, 12 different people sign up and actually pay us for their booth space.
Right.
So I contacted those people first and said, well, you said something about rolling it forward, this is the time. And they said,
Here we go.
okay, here we go. So that was the first batch, and now it's the rest of the previous vendors. So that'll be happening this week.
Okay, that's great.
So,
Mickey, tell them who the Grand Marshal is.
Yes.
This is very interesting. The Grand Marshal is Bainbridge Prepares and
Yes.
their major
Yes.
part, and the hundreds of volunteers that helped everybody in the last 2 years with all the inoculations. So that's really exciting. And we'll have a couple of cars with the folks, the Bainbridge Prepares and what's her name from the city?
Ann
Ann
Lesage.
Lesage. And probably
Justin
from the
Bainbridge Island Pharmacy.
Yes.
And then.
And Mark Tan.
Yeah.
Mark and
There's
Casey.
about 6 people that were the organizers, and then anybody else who was involved is right after the military, the flags and the military and the cop cars and the sirens.
I'm sure they will get a standing,
Oh, my
everybody will stand up
Yeah.
and cheer them because boy, did they make a difference.
Yes. So it's the perfect
Yeah,
choice.
they kept us safe. They provided the vaccines.
One of our volunteers,
Wow.
Ben Graves, was one of the parking people. He did it week after week after week after week, rain and snow and hot and everything else, so.
Yes, unfortunately, Glenn Nakata has passed. He was part of that effort too.
Yes.
I remember him out with his golf cart, moving people around at all the large events, so.
Oh,
But what a wonderful community activity. I'm very glad you recognized them. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
It was obvious.
Yeah.
So we won't let the parade application start for a while, just because normally we have 2 different people working on those 2 different things. And the parade has usually been my issue, and this year I'm inheriting the street fair as well. So I'll give myself a rest till probably the end of April. That's when I'll start letting in parade applications come on.
Try to get most of the street fair buttoned
Yeah.
up before you turn to the parade.
Because the parade will always be at 1:00.
Uh-huh.
And we're about to redo our website, which will transition to the other side of the chamber stuff. But one of the things we're going to be doing is rolling the Grand Ole 4th into its own sort of sub-site.
Right, so we'll have its own
Yeah.
URL.
Well, it already did, but we're gonna put it that will still be active, but we'll have it more connected to the chamber site,
Oh, okay,
because it's the chamber.
right. Yeah, okay, I get it. Yes, I remember that now it was kind of like a whole separate site.
Right, yeah, it was, and it got a lot of activity over the about 7 days of the year. Oh, we get like 4,000 hits, I think, on the day of the event. It's pretty cool.
And are you still gonna have the street dance on the 3rd?
That is done by the Downtown Association, and the answer is yes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
They're still trying to figure out how they're gonna do a beer garden, if they can, and where, and they've had such issues with it in the past.
Right.
Where the police asked them to stop a few years ago.
Rita, what did you ask?
About the beer garden and the street fair.
The street dance.
I didn't ask you about the
Street
beer garden.
dance.
Don't pin that on me, says Rita.
We have a beer garden, and that'll be right across the street, unless it was before,
Uh-huh,
in the bocce ball place, right next to the
right, the rowing club, yes.
And we're gonna be working with the rowing club to use their interior to do this. I think,
Staging and so
for the
forth.
beer itself, and then have more space for people to stand and sit and stuff outside in the lawn, so.
Will
But
there
we
be,
have We have
will
a
there
great,
be, sorry.
we have a big fence that works, as far as the law is concerned, that we bought a few years ago. To
Right.
Rip that off, so but they have a harder time in Winslow where they can't really put stakes in the ground and how they can
Right.
handle it. They had issues a few years ago where people were passing drinks over the fence, and
Right,
not a good.
that was not a good thing.
So they're working on that, but they will have the dance.
That's
And
good.
then, of course, the day before that, the second is Rotary Auction, which has never happened before. It's always been a week apart. They're stuck with the schedule of Woodward because they can't get in for the 10 days they need to prepare for it
Right,
until the school is out. So it'll be the second, and then the third, and then the fourth. We're a little worried about that because all the volunteers that work for Rotary usually have a week to recover, and this time they won't, so we'll
so you're looking for volunteers.
definitely be looking for volunteers. It takes about 100 people.
Mhm.
The evening of the third, when the street fair loads in, we have to close all the streets. And then the day of, when we have to close all the streets for the parade and so on.
And then there might be a little bit of cleanup.
Yeah, there's a little cleanup, although we have some help from the city with that. At least they come by with a sweeper truck and pick up all the stuff on the ground. And we've typically had youth groups come, and it's been the girls swim team who have handled the movement of waste. We have the recycling folks, we got
Right.
zero waste is there too.
Yes.
But as far as regular garbage goes, these young ladies have been handling that and making sure that the cans are emptied and dumped in the dumpster and all that sort of thing. So this year, I think we'll be using a different group because they're not going to be available.
Okay,
But they get a little, I think they get a little financial incentive to do that for their organization. So, because we have a generous donor for that.
that's great. Good to clean up afterwards. I know that's one of the parts of doing events here. It's like, make sure you have the cleanup crew.
Yes, it is.
So how many people do we get visiting the island that day or those days?
A lot.
Especially when you add the Rotary auction on top of it.
That will be interesting. Yeah. People could make a weekend of it. It's hard to say what the count is. We estimate on a good day when the weather's good, probably about 25,000 people for the event altogether, our event, for the chamber event on the 4th. And but all I know is just before the parade, when the boat hits, and all these people unload, to come over and watch it, there's an awful lot of people. What I'd like to do this year.
There you have it, folks, an awful lot of people.
Hundreds. And
Thousands.
what I'd like to do this year, though, is have somebody with a drone take some pictures of the crowds. So
Yeah,
that we can count the people that are in the pictures, like, here's a square inch of this,
Right.
there's 20 people there.
right, like the Washington
And we
Monument,
can actually, really estimate how many people are there.
and get some great pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about people coming over, they come over all summer long. And I know that you're working on an ambassador program to try to make sure that they know what's up and where to go.
And where to go. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. Well, one of the things it's not just springtime. I mean, which is why we wore the colors that we did.
Oh, very nice.
But it's also COVID spring. And with the mask mandate being lifted, we too, like the crocuses, are lifting our heads above the soil, taking off our masks and sniffing the air to see if it's safe to come back into society. So, and we're hoping when you're ready, you'll think about the Bainbridge Island Chamber of Commerce, because we've got jobs and we have volunteer opportunities. And the big thing we're looking for right now is a DOL agent to assist with Chris.
Department of Licensing.
Department of Licensing. Chris has been a one-man show for years, and he works hard 4 days a week. And with another person, we can quite possibly be open 6 days a week. And provide more service to the Bainbridge Island community. It's a paid position. Training is absolutely available. You know, you'll be working side by side with Chris.
Which in itself is a bonus.
It is a bonus. The guy is amazing. So, and so if it may not be a job that any of us at this age want to take on, because it is demanding. If you know of somebody who is looking for some real steady work, and who likes people and wants to connect to the Bainbridge community, this is a great job for that. So we have that position. The ambassadors that you talked about at the kiosk, that's also a paid position.
So this is the kiosk that's down by the ferry.
Ferry terminal, yes. And, you know, all you have to do is just greet the people as they come off the boat and answer questions, hand them a map, make suggestions. One of my favorite things to do when I'm at the kiosk is that, you know, everyone's just going to walk into Winslow unless you provide them an alternative. And I like to get them on the bus to go see the Japanese American Exclusion Memorial or up to the Blodell Reserve and give them something that's completely different from, yes, we do want them to have a shopping experience. Yes, we want them to go have a bite to eat. But I try to get them on the bus first, go do something that's going to enrich the soul, and then come back into town, have a bite, and just buy the place out on your way back to the ferry.
Well, I do know that I've talked to people before who say, okay, so I would like to walk to Blodell. Which way is it?
Oh,
Yes.
right, yes. And so training is provided for the ambassadors. We'll be getting together with Kitsap Transit and working the Pingo angle, and so that we can explain how the system works and get them on the buses to where they want to go.
So how much work is that? Like, do I have to sign up to be a full-time person to work at the event?
It's about a 5-hour shift. You know, you can do it once a week. We're going to have even extra hours on the weekends. We've got a small grant from Kitsap Transit so that we can have 2 people at the kiosk on the weekends, which is kind of nice. You have somebody to chat with between boats. Rita, you had a question.
Well, I have a couple questions, but so we're going on this Pingo thing. I tried to use it when it first came out, and I live out in the north end. I lived on this road before Blodell, and I have never been able to get bus service from Access or anybody, but I'm going to try it again. But are they going to have, like, on the weekends or a couple times a week, just a bus that just goes to Blodell? So when the ferry comes in, they can take who they want and pick up who's coming back? And then so then when the next ferry comes in, you can load those people on. They're going to Blodell and pick up who's coming back. So you have a
Circle guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to go Blodell and then the Japanese American Exclusion Memorial, Linwood Center, through town and back to the
Yeah, they
ferry.
had 2 different routes.
Yeah, but that's a lot.
They had an actual schedule, but then between COVID and the ferry terminal in Seattle and the boats being not there and they.
Right. So it was,
For the time being, right?
Sure.
Imagine they might go back to that event once.
That's what we're trying to work toward, getting back to normal.
And
whenever
they'd like
that's-
to be running on Sundays, but they don't have enough drivers right yet. So if you know anybody who wants to be a
but
driver.
I'm just saying, I think that that's something you might want to think about, at least on the weekends or one of the weekend days.
Sure,
So people
yeah.
can go to Blodell and come back. They don't have to ride around to all these places if they want to go to Blodell. and just come. But it's just something to think about.
Yeah, well, and you'll be talking with them, so.
Well, yeah, we've got a meeting with them real soon.
The most frequent destination
Yes,
that they go to.
well, and it would be, I mean, I think also you could tell people about Linwood Center and the idea of going down there maybe for an ice cream. There's not just one ice cream place on the island.
Oh, you're right.
Or a donut, I guess, right?
Or a beer.
It's true.
Pizza and beer, so, or a movie, what a concept.
A movie. I knew we'd get there with DJ sooner or later. So ambassadors, if you're interested, what do you do?
Oh, okay. If you're interested in any of these opportunities, go to bainbridgechamber.com and take a look at the job descriptions. And it's under the tab that says about, and then underneath that it says jobs. And it's beautifully delineated as to what each job is.
Right.
And I think one of the things that I want to stress is that the jobs are just fun. You see your friends and neighbors, you get to check in with each other, and especially after 2 years of being in lockdown, it just feels so good to see these faces again. And eventually we'll be seeing them unmasked at some point. But until then, you get to see their eyes, peer into their souls, and make sure they're doing okay. And then lastly, we have other position available, and it's a volunteer at the front desk at our downtown chamber office. And that's a nice job in that it's varied tasks. You never know what the day is going to bring. It's flexible. All of these jobs have flexible hours, okay? Flexible hours, high visibility. You get to see so many people. So go and consider that and here's the thing. We have fully remodeled the office. It's looking gorgeous.
Yeah, you should just stop by there anyway.
And just say hi.
And then accidentally volunteer for something.
Yeah. Well, you used to do that, didn't you? I would see you at the front desk all the time.
Yeah, I still do it, yes.
And you'd like some help.
Gosh, I'd like some. I'm there 4 days a week. They're so sick of me. It's like, TJ, get some more people. So come and help us and see your community again.
Great. Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed when I was in, not only is it kind of nice and open in a way that it wasn't before, but there's a conference room in there.
Yes. And
Which
members,
I don't know how you squeeze that in there, but.
it's magic, I think.
It was magic.
But
So that's a room for chamber members? and-
yes, members can use it for conferences.
Yeah, and there are probably 12 or 15 seats in there
Yeah,
or
I think
something
there's
like
12, 10 or 12. And we have.
And a big whiteboard.
Yeah, but the whole wall is a whiteboard paint, so you can, and there's.
You
You
can,
can make big pictures, big
and
stick
big
figures.
Video screen like this one, and
Yeah.
all right.
nice, yes.
So we've kind of come into the 21st century and grown up a little bit.
I think so.
And so come grow with us, please.
And you have a relatively new president,
Yes.
Oh my God, Stefan.
Here, right, he's been there.
Stefan Goldsby.
Goldbean, there's no
Goldbean,
S.
no
in
S,
Goldbean.
Yes.
And you should come and meet Stefan. Even once you tour the place and see how lovely it is, then you should see the person behind the vision. This man has more energy than one man should be allowed to have. He's got vision that doesn't stop. He has a sense of humor that doesn't stop. And he's amazing. I've never met anybody who's as good of a problem solver as my husband, but now there's Stefan. And between the two of them, between the vision and the problem solving and the energy, like they could take over the world.
But right now, they're just focused on Bainbridge Island.
Yes, thank heavens.
So that vision includes a lot of collaboration, the idea of using the web a little more assertively, I think.
Right. Well, we're in partnership with a whole bunch of, or just about every other island organization in one way or another.
Mhm.
And whether it's doing things like events, or whether it's doing things like publicizing what's going on. We became essentially a newspaper during COVID, and we
Yes.
still are. I mean, our newsletter has picked up speed and
Right.
getting rates and.
Yeah, have you seen it, Rita?
Yeah, I love it. I subscribe to it. I am happy. I kind of know what's going on, and stuff that's in there, you know, you don't always see anyplace else. So I really do like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of information about what's going on in city government
Yes,
and
occasionally, yes.
state government
We've
even.
we've taken a much stronger stand for advocacy lately,
Right. Yeah.
whether it's local or wherever. And so a lot of times you'll see some issue comes up, and if you go to like the papers or online, you'll see articles about it, but they're just like 6 different articles about the same topic, but nobody ever like puts that all together in one manageable, concise
Yeah.
explanation, and that's what we've done a lot of times when.
Well, I know you've helped out with kind of framing what the obligations are in regards to recent change utensils and the way that you can expect merchants to not be offering you utensils and what merchants can expect in terms of support for that.
Exactly. And Stefan was on a committee with the city that set that up and made sure that there was plenty of lead time and people and ambassadors who were paid to go around and talk to each one of those people, those restaurants or anybody to do with beverages and.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so how do we subscribe to this?
Go to the website, bainbridgechamber.com, and there's somewhere on that page, there's.
Yeah.
It says newsletter.
Newsletter, and-
Subscribe to the newsletter. Sheila, you would enjoy that, I promise you.
And if you're watching this on YouTube later, just look in the comments bar because I'll put the links down there.
I just want to say, you know, you were real instrumental during that lockdown of consolidating all of that conflicting information that we were getting on the small business loans, and Mickey was Zooming webinars like a mad woman and collating all the information and distilling it down so that businesses could figure out how to get these SBA loans. She was trying to distill the information about COVID and what the guidelines were this week, this hour, this day. And this was during the time when we had just lost Rex, our last executive director. So she sort of steered the ship. Kevin Dwyer, thank goodness, came back on as an acting executive director. And between the two of them, they kept the ship afloat during COVID. And kept the information coming.
Yeah, that was very confusing. The government was not exactly clear at
They
that
didn't know
point.
nobody knew what they were doing. They were just, flying the airplane and building it at the same time.
Right.
And I mean, it was for the first 3 months of shutdown, it was just me and Chris. Chris was doing all the DOL stuff out the front door.
Right. You have to step outside to do work.
And I was glued to the webinars and I give a lot of credit to Jerry Lane from the Downtown Association.
Uh-huh.
The two of us made all that happen, basically.
And I think that a fair number of businesses were able to get some help with the PPP loans and other
I
things.
think so. I'm really pleased that I don't think we've lost a lot of businesses during this whole thing. Part of it is because we're so close to Seattle and we did get tourism. As soon as the first wave was kind of over and people felt like they could get out and go places, they came here. Because they didn't want to be in Seattle. Seattle was too unpleasant. And
Yes, I think that affected our real estate market there for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily in a good way for those of us who might want
And
to
now
live
the
here.
cruise ships the summer are now more than ever. They typically ran about 220 maybe sailings a year. This year it's almost 300, like 298 or something. So they're coming back with a vengeance. We're going to see a lot of tourists. We typically count just at the kiosk, just when we're there 5 hours a day. Over the course of a year, we'll count 120,000 visitors.
Wow.
And that's just the ones that are walking, not the ones in cars, and not the ones that run down the ramp and follow the locals and all that other stuff. Just the people that walk past us there. We estimate how many are, and it's pretty easy to tell if they're not locals.
So I do have a question about locals. Did you have a sense of how supportive we Bainbridge Islanders were for our island businesses during?
It's anecdotal, but yes, absolutely. I think we kept the restaurants alive. I mean, people went out of their way to keep the restaurants alive. And shop when they could.
The general store.
The general store, Stefan's idea, he started it a year before it actually happened. The idea that we would have one online mall essentially, not really, it's not like Amazon where you pay them, right? You don't pay us, but you just see the stuff from
Right.
100 different businesses.
Local
businesses.
businesses. So, and each business can put up 2 or 3 items that is their mainstay
And
item.
from their website or their phone call or whatever, they sell it to you.
Uh-huh.
And that's done really well.
That's how I
Oh,
did my
that's good.
Christmas shopping one year. And I found Laughing Duck Coffee. Put that down on your calendars.
Okay, Laughing Duck Coffee.
Yes.
The name alone.
I know, I love that, right? You just
knew
get that
You
image.
knew that the general store would be, it's not gonna go away when COVID goes away. It's a wonderful thing. And so many.
Well, just like Zoom.
Yes, so many of our businesses should have been online a long time ago, right?
And this is helping.
Yeah, it eased the way.
And they're still accepting applications.
Yeah.
For any business who wants to get something up there online with us.
And now the county wants to do it.
Oh,
Good,
That's in the works. We'll talk
Okay.
about that later.
okay, come back.
yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Reed.